Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. If you are joining live, we're a little early, and we're only going to do one team preview this Wednesday as we are trying to dodge Copa Mundial, where Andy's Three Lions go head-to-head with my Argentina Albiceleste.
Albiceleste?
The white and the light blue and white.
Sky blue, I believe.
The sky blue.
Which is
the white and sky blue.
I don't know that that's true, but it should be because it's backwards, because Minnesota means land of the sky blue waters in Lakota, I believe. So
do they speak Lakota in Argentina? Probably not.
Anyway, they do not.
We're here to talk about Cowboys. We're going to get this done in under an hour so we can make it in time for kickoff. And this is a team that I'm actually a little optimistic on. Warmer on the Cowboys than the market right now. I think if you forced me to take some huge prices in the NFC and made me make some calls, Cowboys would be on my short list just because they, to me, look like they have a top 10 offense. And to me, could have potentially solved some of the major issues with the defense. We are a year removed from wondering if the Cowboys were going to make the step forward into the elite in the NFC because they were, they had their quarterback in place. They had weapons around him. They had an elite pass rusher in Micah Parsons, who did not end up starting for the Cowboys at all last season as he was traded to Green Bay Packers. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about what they got back in terms of fair compensation and what they've done with that compensation to backfill. But it looks like they have a more talented team overall defensively than they had going into last year. It looks like they have, kind of figured a couple of things out as far as scheme and coaching staff to expect that both the offense and the defense are going to be solid. I can't even believe I'm feeling this way, but they may have turned a corner.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, and there's it's the same as any team that overperforms. A bunch of things have to go right, and there's a bunch of things that can go right with this team. There's some continuity, and last year was such a weird year. We talk about how hard it is to quantify losing the locker room, or late in the season when a team's quitting or the coach is clearly fired. You can have that apparently from week one, because it had to feel like a weird locker room right off the bat. When we start trading players, and I don't know, it had to be a weird vibe. And then there was the secondary injuries, to start the season. So it had to be a tough task to coordinate and try to put a defense out there. And I think that's, we said we're not going to go deep into previous years, but it's worth mentioning. I think that was the hugest problem, was your defense finished dead last in points allowed. And you can get into deeper metrics and EPA and all the other things you want to dig into.
29th.
If you are worst in points allowed, going, what were they, 7-9-1?
It's because he scored a lot of points.
I'm going to give you some credit for almost being 500 when you were dead last in defense. So obviously, the big thing, they shipped him to Green Bay. Micah, they got the Quinnen Williams thing that was later on, Kenny Clark, and still it was like, this is a really good offense and a really bad defense, which is a super fun team.
Yeah, I think on heading into the season, I was ice cold on the Cowboys last year, because I thought they were going to try to come up. They were going to try to have this balanced rushing attack that I thought was going to put them in third and long pretty regularly. And then, yes, they have two awesome weapons in the passing game, but they were going to need them to, they were just going to need them to overperform time and time again to convert these low probability third downs. Well, it turned out that bringing in Clayton Adams from Arizona, he brought a very, very efficient rushing attack with him. And even though they didn't have stars in the backfield, it didn't matter. Even though they didn't have amazing blocking players, it didn't matter. The scheme really did support a very balanced attack and very efficient rushing from them. And then if you have George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb running amok, that's too difficult pieces to cover on a consistent basis. Dak was good. George Pickens at one point looked like he was going to steal Offensive Player of the Year from JSN. He was incredible through the first 2/3 of the season before fading. So it was overall, I think, a resounding above, a score. I think you would grade Schottenheimer and Adams well above expectation for what they did with the offense last year. And I think you would grade the defense well below expectation. And as such, Eberflus gets fired. And that was very correct. And maybe the one indictment on Schottenheimer was, why did you hire Eberflus? Like, why was that the plan?
It's a fair question to ask.
And, yes, he didn't have much to go with in terms of talent on that defense, but that's not entirely like a lot of, some like he didn't even make the sum of the parts in a lot of ways. And I do think that the Quinnen Williams acquisition was a positive trade for Dallas. I don't think it completely solves all of their problems with the run stop, as they have some serious linebacker issues, but it's a huge step forward. And, Micah Parsons was, I thought, the best non-quarterback asset going into last year before he tore his ACL and, through 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way through the season. And it's tough to kind of ever get 100 cents on the dollar when you make those type of trades. And Kenny Clark was well past his prime, and I don't know that he really has a role on this team, in my opinion. We'll see. But considering how poorly everything could have gone, I think things went fairly well, and I think they are set for a pretty clear bounce back in a eminently winnable NFC East.
Yeah, and we'll get to the Eagles tomorrow, but it definitely has a whiff of it might just be the two-team race if we don't see anything crazy happening down below, and they're in that race despite how bad the defense was. I mean, it was just comically bad. You just knew every time they played a team that had a good offense, the total was starting with a 5, and boy,
yeah.
If they can get that, this doesn't have to be a top 10 defense.
Dude, they conceded 37 to Russell Wilson.
Yeah. He was like a part-time starter on a beat-up team. That's if they can get the defense just manageable, serviceable, decent at times, bend but don't break, because it just broke all the time. Then we don't have to, it doesn't have to be top 10 because you have a top 10 offense. And it's kind of where the NFL's at right now, especially with, some of these teams that have their quarterback, have a couple of skill position players that matter, and you just kind of have to get the other. You can't. Nobody's going to put together the perfect roster. There's constraints with the salary cap and free agency, and you do what you do. And I think they knew the assignment. Like, we're gonna have to put some money into this. We're gonna have to put some of our higher draft capital into defense here.
Yeah. Yep. They were a difficult team to bet on last year. Every time they got hot, they took a shit. I definitely backed them aggressively in that week 8 contest against the Broncos, where they lost 44-24. They put together 3 impressive high-profile wins against the Raiders on Monday night, the Eagles on a Sunday leading into Thanksgiving, where they beat the Chiefs 31-28, knocked a lot of the final folks out of Survivor, probably. I don't really remember exactly how many people had Chiefs that day. I think that was mostly Survivor.
That was Christmas?
It was Thanksgiving, and I think most of the Survivor that went out were Ravens backers who lost to the Bengals, and then Eagles backers who lost to the Bears. But either way, Dallas beat the Chiefs. Was it a clean sweep for the Dogs on Thanksgiving last year? I think maybe it was. I don't remember the first result. Did Detroit lose? I think they may have. Anyway, this is not helpful.
Oh, no, that was the funny part, was like everybody was saving the Chiefs because you had to plan out your holidays. And I got several texts and DMs And like, hey, I saved the Chiefs. What the fuck do I do? I'm like, I don't know, man. Congratulations on making it this far.
Yeah, no, it was a clean sweep on Thanksgiving and Black Friday. 3 dogs on Thanksgiving, or 3. Actually, I'm assuming Green Bay was a dog at Detroit. I don't remember. But yeah, dog, and then the Bears were awesome on Black Friday. Anyway, as soon as you string together those 3 wins, you're 6-5-1. It looks like maybe you can try to race, ride the strength of your offense on the way into a wild card spot, because that was there for the taking. But you didn't, because your defense conceded 44 to the Lions the next week, 34 to the Vikings, and then 34 to the Chargers. So that was that. 6-8-1, pack it in on the season. And in general, I think correctly fired Eberflus, which we mentioned. I'm intrigued by who they've hired here. I'm intrigued by some of their roster turnover decisions. I'm intrigued by their draft. They may have gotten the best player in the draft in Caleb Downs. We'll see. Do you think that's an outrageous statement?
I think we should take a step back from that, because you're not Stephen A. and I'm not Skip, and it's hard for us to fall into the grandstanding wild hot takes. Although I do agree with you, I like him a lot, despite how bad I am at player evaluation. I'm going to ask you how you're treating people like that. Like there's only a handful, 24 rookies that are like, this guy is going to play some meaningful snaps right off the bat.
Yes.
There's another couple dozen that you're a nickel safety, you're a second tight end, you're a 4th wide receiver who might be 3rd at the end of the year. There are other rookies that'll contribute, but right off the bat, you have guys like, hey buddy, you're starting because we drafted you. Like, how are you treating them in your player level stuff? Because it's very hard. And obviously I think it's like everything we do with this. You can't have a blanket system. You have to be like, you're a quarterback, so you're in this is that's a whole nother, bonnet full of bees.
Yeah.
But I think it has to be like situation by situation, where it's like, if you're bad, it's going to be exposed so badly because of the situation you're in with the other players on your defense, on your offensive line, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess if you want to talk about how you're treating some of these rookies with your grading.
So he's an elite talent, Caleb Downs. Elite. He plays a position that kind of kept him from being seriously considered in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
And for those reasons, he slid and ended up on the Cowboys. I think that the fact that the Cowboys are not going to try to play him 2 ways gives him a higher likelihood of succeeding at the skill set that he's good at, which is to say, I'm not treating him the way I treated Travis Hunter last year going into the season. The fact that he's in a system that I think is very friendly to defensive backs in terms of they play a lot of them. You're not like put on an island and told to save the ship. You're given a role and responsibility that's very clear. I think, Christian Parker, I'm expecting to be running some semblance of a Vic Fangio-style defense, and I'm expecting Caleb Downs to effectively play the Cooper DeJean role. I think he's more talented than Cooper DeJean was as a rookie, which means my expectation for him as far as a performance rating for this year is Cooper DeJean's performance as a rookie.
That'd be nice, because again, that was such a bummer start to the season with the injuries they had in the secondary coming in and how bad it looked at times. And then, we always talk about the connection from pass rush to coverage. And it's like, hey, what would be the worst thing that could happen to this coverage unit? Like, well, Micah Parsons could just sit out a game because he plays in a different state now. And, obviously we keep harping on what happened last year, and I'll stop, but it was just kind of a disaster of everywhere. Like, I don't like Eberflus. I never want to go to his, I don't want to back him and say I feel sorry for him, but man, the guy was in a tough spot for a big chunk of the year.
Oh, Andy, a big Eberflus guy.
I don't know. I don't know that
making excuses for Matt Eberflus.
I don't know that anybody would have been able to get out of that box. So such is life.
Yeah. I'm going into this season with a low rating for the Cowboys from a coverage standpoint, because I think that they have problems. I think Deron Bland is a problem. I think Moldy Cooker is a problem. I don't know that Jalen Thompson is the answer. I think their safeties are not a perfect fit for a Fangio-style system, and I think Parker has to prove that he can do that. So I don't think you're just jumping right in and expecting all of the pieces to, everything to sing. That said, Caleb Downs, my expectation is he's going to be good, and I think he was a great draft choice for them.
I'm with you there. Should we get into what is the order we did stuff in? Let's talk about some of the changes.
Off-season changes.
Yeah, we'll go off-season changes because you mentioned. The big one is the DC there, and as you mentioned, it's a Fangio system guy. What are we about 50-50 on guys coming from? Hey, you worked under a great OC/DC, and it's just going to instantly work out. I wonder. I think defense takes a little longer to implement sometimes, and I want to point to Seattle as the ultimate as that, where it wasn't great, but you could tell things were starting to come together. Year one from Mike McDonald.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started to say, he just started picking guys like, you're off my team. You're off my team.
Yes.
And I don't know that. I don't know. Obviously, the DC in Dallas doesn't have player level. He doesn't have the authority to cut players. Probably. I don't even think the head coach has the ability to do that at this point because of the ownership group down there. But if he is given some leeway on roster moves, maybe into next year, definitely could come around because, like you said, he comes from a great system and should have learned something up there. We've seen a lot of things. How many times have we talked about, ways we were impressed with Fangio at his age over the last 3-4 years? So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I worry that it will take some time, as it often does when you are, hey, here's my system and it works. And here's the roster I was given, and it's not exactly what I need. So I got to feel out who can change to mold the system, what I can lightly change to mold the players that matter. And then we need to start making some roster changes, maybe, in the off season. So, Oh,
Andy, you froze. Man, it's like we're getting specifically punked when we do these. Like somebody's trying to sabotage us by spiking Andy's internet when we're doing these shows. Maybe I'm crazy, but I get your points, and I think you're right. Personnel is going to matter a lot for this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Holy shit. You back? Andy? Can you hear me?
Yeah. You know what? And I have a second computer. And I don't think the internet went out on that. So I don't know if it's like can an Ethernet cable just be bad? I don't know.
It's weird that you're getting spiked while we're doing the live show. I feel like it's sabotage.
It did happen this morning. So I was a little worried because I was just working this morning and my internet turned off for 5 seconds.
It's on and off. You know who actually we probably can. You know who we can blame? Probably Microsoft. Microsoft Windows is an enormous pile of shit right now. It is so fucking bad. Anyway, Andy, the Cowboys played how many cornerbacks last year?
9.
12. They went through 12. They went through 12.
These are, this is a leading question, Your Honor. So whenever you ask one of those, I always guess a little higher.
Yes.
I feel like 6 or 7 is probably the median.
Yeah. Yes. No Diggs anymore. That's addition by subtraction. No Kyer Elam anymore. That is addition by subtraction. Actually, I should look down the depth chart. I'm assuming Kyer Elam. Yeah, he's gone. Right? Yeah, he's gone. Some of these other guys who are making starts are out of the league for good reason. So you've really, really aggressively turned over the secondary in the offseason. Bland is the only guy back with kind of continuity. And like I mentioned, I didn't especially love his quality of play last year. Hooker, same thing. I didn't especially love his quality of play last year. Both guys only started 12 games for you because of injury issues. And honestly, they look like the weak links to me in the secondary. But anyway, your point was you were going on about the, how long it takes for you to find your legs as a coordinator when you come from a great system. And It's got the fingerprints of a system that should work. It's not as complex as what Mike McDonald is asking his players to do. It's very, very, I think, secondary friendly. And if you have the personnel who can defend the box or defend the run with the light box, then it has a very good chance of succeeding. And Quentin Williams, I think, is the piece that unlocks that. What say you?
Yeah, as far as losing, Micah Parsons, irreplaceable, not somebody you can pick up. But it's like a weird trade-off. Like, hey, guess what? You don't have an elite edge rusher anymore, but guys are kind of very tough up the middle. And not just run stop. Like, you got some good pass rushers in the middle as well. So it's a weird, like, just flip-flopping of the defensive line. Obviously, it's worse than what it could have been with Micah Parsons on this team and just the high-end, high-ceiling game-wrecking ability of a player like that. But, yeah, I guess he went and made a move to try to improve the defense, and I think he got a really good player.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of upside for this Dallas defense. I'm coming into this season low on them, just because it might not sing, as we mentioned, especially early. But if they can kind of improve from mid-20s to teens, paired with an offense that does what they did last year, then Cowboys are making the playoffs. What other personal changes did you have on your notes?
Oh, let's look. Yes, is Sam Howell on this team? Oof. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at my fall off. What do we call it? The clipboard delta? Like when
clipboard delta is big.
Yeah,
it's always been big here, but it's especially big this year. This backup is technically Joe Milton III. Sam Howell's your third choice. He might not make the team.
Yeah, I don't know. It was more of like what happened last year, I guess. And as you mentioned, some of the addition by subtraction. You got a young ascending offensive line. A couple guys maybe a little unproven because of the youth. Williams, like we said, Williams is the lead. What was your take on Clark then?
I think he's got one more season left at best. They're going to run a 3-4 front, which I think suits his skill set better. But I don't know. I mean, if you get a full season of plus performance out of Kenny Clark, that's how you get to top 10 defense probably.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I don't know. Top 10 is probably not possible.
I was going to say
top 13. Yeah.
Let's get to like 16th. And I think with the offense, if the offense can put together what they put together last year, I think we'll be fine.
There's like a bunch of defenses kind of in that middle class, like 10 to 16 range that I don't feel super high confident on. So I feel like the Dallas if they get a good season out of Kenny Clark, then they probably are going to occupy that portion of the ranking stable.
Yeah, as far as like the offseason, you went and you added some depth at receiver that I'm not like nuts about. We got MVS on this team now. I actually don't hate Ryan Flournoy. The more I dug into the guy, I'm like, maybe this is okay for your third receiver. Obviously, it's still a pretty big drop off at that spot. And then Rashawn Gary. I mean, if you look at, I don't know how you want to do it with eye test or player ratings or stuff. I'm not big on that. I think he's floating closer to replacement level.
He's overpaid, but I have him above replacement level.
Yeah, he's there, but it seems like he's not. It's either plateaued or it's heading down at this point. That's kind of where I'm at with him. Kobe Durant can live with that in the secondary, and the rest of the secondary healthy-ish, and then the rookie at nickel, we can have some upside there.
Okay. Couple of key departures that I'm a little bit kind of intrigued by. Osa Odiz, how do you pronounce this? Osa.
Yeah, I know.
He was traded to the Niners. That was one of the most surprising trades. Cowboys got back a 3rd round pick, which they used on a linebacker who I've never heard of.
I think
Odigizua.
I really had to prep myself for that.
He was one of the he was one of the most positive development stories in their whole defense. I was really surprised they made that move. Didn't love it. Logan Wilson, linebacker departure, was addition by subtraction. Solomon Thomas traded to Tennessee. That was addition by, I don't even mind. He didn't even make the roster. I think overall it was they let some guys walk who were pretty clear and obvious problems, and the backfill looks fine. Kobe Durant is a fine player. Maybe again overpaid. Rashawn Gary, as you mentioned, overpaid. D Winders probably overpaid. Like they had to pay to backfill their talent holes, and they probably are overpaying, but may not matter because they've done a pretty decent job drafting the last couple of years, and there's some upside on this roster. Demarion Overshawn, presumably back at 100%. That matters a lot for them, especially if they're going to be able to stop the run with the light boxes. Not feeling super excited about this pass rush. We'll get to that.
And then, as far as the draft goes, we mentioned Caleb Downs a couple times, Ohio State secondary piece. They moved up one spot, I believe, to get him, which I guess it means you liked him a lot, or at least a little enough to worry about somebody else snagging him at that spot. And then they had the Philly trade gave them the 23rd pick. And they took Malachi Lawrence, edge piece from UCF. So you're going to have another person in the mix there with that front. Again, we're not super keen on the edge rushing group, although I do like some of the interior. And then nothing in the second round. Their next pick was a linebacker at 92 from the cheating Michigan Wolverines, Jayshon Barnum, and then some depth pieces from there on out. Depth, offensive tackle, corner, D-line, and a wide receiver from East Carolina. I always get intrigued by when they take flyers in the 6th and 7th round on skill position players, because there's hey, this guy has a little flash here or there. And I don't know anything about Anthony Smith. I did not watch any East Carolina games this year. If you guys have any hot takes on him, I'd love to hear them. And we'll, these are the kind of people you find out a lot more about once we get into camp. And it's hey, this guy might make the roster. This is fun.
One of the biggest positives I thought of the Cowboys offseason, there wasn't a lot of contract drama this year.
Yeah, we kind of cleared up the one, and we kind of knew where it was going anyway. And it cleared up the other day with just, hey, you're playing on the tag, buddy. And I felt wasn't that pretty much consensus? That's how that was going to go.
Yes. So the fact that we're not going to go through camp with, some unnecessary drama and storylines, I think is a positive. Let's go through ratings.
Can do that. Before we do, I forgot to do a full ad read, and I feel bad because they do sponsor the podcast. They put us up when we're out there. So I should mention again that these previews are sponsored by Circa Sports, the Circa Millions 8. I think that sounds right. It was 7 last year. Circa Survivor and the Grandissimo. If you really have some money burning a hole in your pocket, the other entries are just $1,000. That one's $100,000 enter, but you can make some good money if you win it. $30 million in guaranteed prizes. No rake. If there's more entries and they go above the guarantee, all that extra money gets put right back in the prize pool. You have until September 12th at 2 p.m. local Las Vegas time to enter. You must register at the Circa Sportsbook in Nevada. Weekly picks can be made through a proxy. If you have any questions on that, you can hit me up in the DMs. I'll help you with that. So if you want to get involved in those contests, I encourage it. You're looking at someone who tied for 16th place last year. Not a big deal. Your Atlanta Falcons cost me $100,000 because if they wouldn't have given up that late touchdown to the Saints, I would have gone 5-0 in the final week. Not that I think about that on the regular. So come play with us and come beat us next year. And let's get to ratings.
All right. Couple of interesting, difficult, tricky questions right off the bat here. Dak Prescott remains one of the most efficient quarterbacks in football. We have had now a number of seasons where he is consistently at the top of the pile in terms of EPA per play. Removing turnovers last year, he was a body 0.27 EPA per play with 700 dropbacks, which is freaking flat out awesome. There were only what was that? That was top. That was good enough for top 5 for sure. I don't have that in front of me, but that was a rare air. The previous year, even despite an injury, he was a very efficient quarterback, I thought, in his final year with McCarthy, and then the prior year. So I look at like a 3-year sample for mostly heavily weighting my quarterback number. This is a pretty positive sample here for Mr. Prescott. I would rank him currently the 9th choice as far as Prescott combined with Schottenheimer's scheme for quarterback OC number in the NFL, and my number is 7.5.
Yeah, this is a weird one. I came in lower despite liking Dak. I think I built in some of the fact that there is a real hard drop off, I believe. And I said I might even need to up that a little bit, but he was healthy last year, which is something to be said because that doesn't seem to happen all that often. He is in the upper third of starters for me. I definitely think he is above Hurts, which has always been a fun debate between people who support those teams. Little pushback. He's getting a little older. He's going to turn 33. The resume in big games is pretty thin. I know you can't really quantify that, but I think that matters, especially when you get to games that matter / playoffs. Maybe not something we need to be worrying about for week 1. And then I'm still out on Shoddy a little. I don't know that it was actually good, or the fact that the other team was getting to play prevent defense with the lead a lot, and you had just an all-timer for a bunch of, he did miss some time too, Lamb, but you had an all-timer who could doesn't matter what you put on him. He's going to find his way to the ball. And what was it week 1 where how many targets did he get?
Oh yeah, it was a lot.
It was just like an obscene amount. Like, oh no, they don't have a wide receiver too with Pickens missing at times. So I'm a little cooler. I did go 6.6 here, but that's kind of my floor. If I can see it in more neutral situations, it's definitely going to come up. So I'm behind you on quarterback a little.
I wonder why my Schottenheimer number doesn't kind of jive with my expectation of him.
I mean, if you look at just EPA points scored, all that jazz, like it looks like a pretty good offense.
His neutral pass rate was top 6 in the NFL. The other guys he's kind of grouped with were all guys that I am excited about as far as play callers, and just general systems. I don't know, man. I'm kind of impressed with what he did in year 1. And I feel like, all of the kind of history and baggage of pointing out how stupid and terrible he was in previous stops, he must have learned something. I felt like the chemistry between him and Dak was really, really solid. He was calling the right plays a lot. And I think a lot of the reason of the success was because Clayton Adams, I think, is kind of Ben Johnson light when it comes to developing an efficient run game out of thin air. And if you can do that in today's NFL, and you have a quarterback who can make passes like Dak, I think your floor is really high.
That's a good point too, especially because I am not in love with the running back room.
No, it's terrible.
I don't think anybody should be. And that brings us into skill. I believe I might be lower than you here too. Like, it's a top 5 receiver, maybe top 3 receiver. You got Pickens, if he behaves, stays healthy. Super top heavy though, because even though I said I did kind of like some of the things Florida did, the depth after that sucks absolute ass. The running back room isn't something. I mean, it's just the running back room isn't something I'm excited about. So, like, Two stars don't fill 5 skill spots enough for me when you face a good enough defense. And I guess we'll see, because again, I started this at the floor. I'm at a 5.4, which feels terrible, but I used a lot of data I thought was actually driving what we can expect here with the amount of touches that they're going to be able to get. And, if Schotty, I think these numbers move up in as a tandem. If I'm impressed with what Schottenheimer and the rest of the offensive play calling and game planning staff does for the first few games of the season.
Okay. Lamb is my wide receiver 5. Pickens is my wide receiver 8 in terms of expected production this year. Combining wide receiver 1 and 2, Dallas has the best 1-2 by a pretty good margin. My second best 1-2 looks like it's Detroit. I gotta actually
I'm on to Slaw.
And then Cincinnati's my number 3. I'm gonna go through that whole exercise and see. But the wide receiver room is keeping my entire skill group rating up, because Jake Ferguson is my tight end 13, and their running back room is pretty weak. Even though I can't even say anything more positive. I can't shake the positive statements about how good this running scheme is and what they're able to develop out of. Less they get more out. They get more than the sum of the parts. Dallas's, which Javonte Williams is my running back 14. Their overall running back room for me is in the 20s.
I'm not that high on Pickens, Williams, or the tight end, so I think that's probably I'm a little lower.
Okay, so overall, they're my 4th best skill position group. My rating is a 6.9.
Okay, yeah, we vary there. I'll put the chart up. You don't need to see us. All right, this gives maybe I won't. It gives away some surprises. We'll wait till we get to defense.
What's your offensive line?
Offensive line for me is 6.2.
Okay, this one was impossible to divorce from the quality of the scheme. I'm not high on. There's a lot of these guys that I think are pretty questionable in terms of long-term talent. Not sold yet on Guyton. Not sold yet on Steele. Tyler Booker was huge draft capital, but he was just okay. Tyler Smith is great, but a bit of a where are we going here? Cooper Beebe, incomplete assessment for him as far as long-term center goes, but depth is terrible, and tackles are both question marks for me. So I am only at a 5.3 for offensive line. Better than Giants, better than the Commies, but not a unit that I'm running to scream as among the best in the NFL.
I'm higher on Tyler Smith as an anchor. I think he's good. And like you mentioned, some of it is just, I think it is scheme oriented, that some of the numbers look good. Because if you look at the individual pieces, it is more of a sum of the parts kind of thing, and how they play ball and how quickly the offense could get the ball out if they need to. So probably drags it up a little, and it's hard. Are you doing double counting at that point? I don't know, probably, but I have some of these guys I think are ascending, and I'm willing to give them a little higher rating for that. But yeah, Guyton, Booker, very much incomplete grades, very unproven. I don't know that they're, some of the projection is like, hey, they're young. A lot of young guys get better.
Yeah. I would say they're 14th with room to go up, and then also room to go down if they get injured, because you bring in some of these depth pieces and these guys don't look very good to me. 14th all told, with a top 10 quarterback, with a top 4 skill group, and with a top 14 offensive line. Dallas is my 5th best offense at a 68th percentile. And you?
I don't have my spreadsheet up to even look at that. I just wrote down all my power ratings.
That's okay.
Dallas
Let's talk defense.
I have them as a 6.2 on offense for the season.
Okay. Oh man, very much disagree with Ghostface Gaming that Harbaugh will take over the NFC East.
Yeah, you're not a Harbaugh guy.
I'm not. I'll pay to see this be the first aged coach retread that works out. Let's go to defense. Again, mentioned I'm not especially high on these guys. My composite rating for them lands 26th in the NFL. Run stop, I'm at 4.2. And again, some of that is a little bit of shade on the linebacking core. Some of that is a little bit of question marks about Kenny Clark. I think the world of Quinnen Williams. But it's a weak link system and there's some weak links. So I'm below average on run stop. I'm below average on pass rush at 4.7, and I'm well below on coverage at 2.6. This is one of my worst coverage units, even with the additions and the turnover that they had, largely because I think there are a number of places you can poke this group, even with the great draft choice of Caleb Downs.
I was at a 5.8, and yeah, this is another spot we disagreed a little. It's so hard to divorce yourself out of the opposite of that. Divorce some of the, like, hey, this is a name and this is a very good individual player versus this is how the unit performed and this is what drug them down and this is how many games important players missed. And as much as I don't know how I feel, this defensive coordinator could be an absolute dud. That happens too. Like we're excited where he came from. We're excited on how the scheme probably fits, but you just never know. Like some people can't handle it. So I'm at a 5.8, and a lot of it is just really anchored on having Williams, and I think having Clark on the team, but not having to lean on him at this juncture in his career. He's still going to be a contributor. Like you mentioned, some of the other, the edge, it's like the edge rushing for me just cratered, and the interior came up enough where it's still like a plus unit up front for me.
Okay, let's intangibles for me are a little bit higher probably than you would expect. I'm at a 6.6. A lot of that is sequencing was good, adjustments were good, and neutral pass frequency was good. Fourth down attempts, the Cowboys were above average. A lot of the small stuff I thought kind of passed the smell test with this coaching group as far as intangibles go. It was a good year for Shaddy compared to expectation, I guess.
It's funny how we have like every disagreement, but then in the end, we're not that far off with our overall power rating. I'm at a 4.3, just new DC, unproven. I don't know how much last year was a mirage, as I pointed out. Like, hey, the offense looked good, but they were in situations where, hey, the offense is going to look good because the other team is leading and they're just letting you kind of get after it at times. I'm willing to. This is the same as quarterback / skill position. These all kind of come up at once. If I see good neutral stuff, the fourth down stuff was okay. I did love some of the penalty numbers. I think some of that comes into coaching. But yeah, I thought you were going to be harder on Shotty than me. I didn't know coming in I was going to be cooler on a little penalty prone team.
Okay, fair enough. Special teams elite. They have. I wonder if at the end of the year we're going to have a better rating on Aubrey or Little. What's your gut say on who the best kicker is going to be at the end of this year? Who's making the 70-yarder?
And it's funny, as I dug into special team stuff, I think it'll probably be Aubrey. I mean, indoors, baby.
Yeah.
We'll see if either one goes to Dallas this year, or goes to Denver for an away game. Maybe we have a 75-yarder. I was lower, and I used, shout out Aaron Schatz, I used some DVOA numbers along with just pulling forward last year's EPA on special teams and a few other things. And it was like, hey, this is all Aubrey. And I think Turpin's probably good, but their overall punt return numbers weren't good. And yeah, Schatz had them 14th rated in special teams DVOA, despite how good Aubrey was. So some of the kickoff coverage, other stuff drug it down a little. Again, we weight this as 2.5% of the total grade. So we're talking too much about special teams already, and we're on to the other parts of the defense.
Okay, what do we got? Full scope.
I'm putting the chart up.
So in aggregate, similar shaped targets, bullseyes. What do you call these?
Spider charts.
Similarly shaped spider charts.
You know what I might do with tomorrow's? I might make a different colored circle for 5 and have it on there so you can see where the league average is.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I like adding to this. So
like that.
run stop, and coverage for me at 3.4s.
Okay.
Basically, it would be a 0 if Quinnen Williams wasn't on the team, I guess, because of the people that's behind him for run stop, and then coverage it's improving, but again, you're having a rookie as your third corner most likely, and that can be scary sometimes to start. Just you don't have any proven stars right now, and I'm going to be a little lower on that. Are you lower on? Where were you on coverage?
I'm lower.
Oh, gosh, you're lower than me even.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of weak links there. God, but you know what? Like that's the upside potential for these guys, which is to say that Christian Parker, he helped develop Jair Alexander when he was in Green Bay. He helped develop Pat Surtain when he was in Denver, and obviously learning under Vic Fangio can only be considered a positive. So yeah, I mean, this is one where like I got to try not to overreact too much to the first couple of weeks of the season because I'm coming in low and I know I kind of want to go up, but I need to see it first. Final rating for me for the Cowboys is a plus 2.46. We'll say a plus 2.5. You are a plus 2.15, so effectively a plus 2 and change. The market on the Cowboys is currently at a 1 point.
Where does that rate for you as far as teams?
5-7.
Rank,
11th ranked team. 11th.
Damn it. 12th. So
market has them at the 15th with a 1.57. So we are both almost a point better, or I'm a point better. You're half a point better than the market on the Cowboys. So didn't expect to be here, but we might be Cowboys this year. Their current price for the NFC East is just plus 185. So it's not going to make anybody's holidays. Eagles are plus 140. And I was kind of hoping I was going to be able to make a strong case that market's too high on the Eagles, too low on the Cowboys, and the gap is closer. But somebody's already beaten us to the punch here in some of the futures pools, because if I'm going to get exposure to the Cowboys, I kind of want it in the regular season. I don't really want to back these guys doing anything in the playoffs.
Yeah. A couple schedule notes to mention as we flip over the schedule. Week 1, right off the bat, primetime game, Sunday night football opener. Got to win that game, guys. Week 3 in Rio de Janeiro, which is
you lose the home game.
Yeah, it's a goofy spot there because you got to, despite them being the teams below you, boy, if you don't go into the Rio game 2-0, you're not feeling great about the season, and then you have to do a weird travel spot followed by a tough game coming back at Houston, and then Tampa Bay, short week, primetime game Green Bay, primetime game Philadelphia. You need to if you're going to win this division, you need to find 4 wins.
4-2. Yeah, you need to be at 4-2 there. Yeah.
Honestly, even 4-3 through the 7 games, I'd feel okay because maybe you lose that. It's hard to give you a good feeling about that Houston game coming off the weird travel spot and then going on the road against a crazy tough defense. Yeah. And then there's some easy spots in there. You take Arizona at home, you take Tennessee at home, you take the Giants at home late in the season. Depends how you feel about Jacksonville. I think there's a lot of varying opinions on that, but there's some winnable games definitely at the end of the season too, if you need to make that push. Philly on Thanksgiving. Yeah. So both Philly games are prime time. You have a lot of primetime games. Jacksonville Sunday night. You have 3 Sunday night games, 2 Monday night games, a Thursday night game, a Thanksgiving game, and the Rio game. Jesus.
Yeah, I can promise you that.
If this team sucks, we are going to be sick of them.
That's the way it always is, though. That Dallas at Rams game coming off the bye is going to be fun as hell. That's going to be a standalone in the afternoon, no question. That'll be a great one. I think kind of what's going to be interesting, I think, is that the stretch in the middle there where they're going to be favored leading into Thanksgiving against Philly. If you get a win against Philly there, you're going to be presumed. You're going to start to be talked about in the conversation of NFC representative in the Super Bowl. Okay. And then your next 2 games are against Seattle and LA. That's fucking cool. Right. Like you're going to go right from, kind of putting yourself up there and then get immediately tested with 2 awesomely tough road games against the 2 best teams in the NFL. You get extra rest for both of them. Okay. So if you kind of use your rest wisely, if you get those 2 wins and you're now like you're kind of in the driver's seat for the 1 seed potentially. Like, I feel like that's the like clear and obvious sell high on the Cowboys, right? Like this schedule when I look at this feels like it's set up to me where we're gonna have some drama early talking about the Cowboys, but then they settle into, a stretch where they're going to get wins, and then a stretch where they're given the advantage against the elite to kind of prove their, how good they are. And then that's the date you cash out all your positive everything on the Cowboys, right?
They head to the cage, take your money.
Exactly.
I don't know. Any other thoughts on that? We'll talk odds for a few minutes before we go.
It's a tough schedule.
The bye week is absolutely a terrible sandwich. Super Bowl champs versus the Super Bowl champs of this year. Fucking at Seattle Monday night, it is at LA. Jesus.
Yeah,
and
2
it's not
trips
like,
west.
Well, yeah, and you have the bye week. You're not gonna be like, hey, let's stay in Oxnard.
No.
You go home to your families for a week, so you do got to fly out twice.
Yeah, Oxnard. Yeah, I got 6 winnables, 4 likely losses.
Can you do that this year for us? Go check out the Cowboys. Get a boots on the ground at the camp.
Absolutely.
Go pop down.
You know what?
Camps are fun. Go pop down for a minute. There's a couple in LA.
There are. There's a bunch out here. You know what's cool about Oxnard, Andy? It is the departure point for the Channel Islands National Park, one of the least visited and most beautiful of all of our natural resources here in America. It's tough to get there. It's about a 45-minute boat ride to get out to Channel Islands National Park, but it does leave from Oxnard. So Oxnard. I can double up, see some Cowboys, and then go do some marine. Hit the Channel Islands.
Opinion on win total? I know you talked about NFC East. There's places that, it's 2.5, not quite. I don't think I'd take NFC or Super Bowl.
No. I think if I'm preying on upside here, I'm probably taking a 1 seed price, right? Like I'm probably give me like NFC 1 seed at a big number right now for these guys, in the hopes that when you get to the Seattle and Rams game, that the rest difference matters and you can just outscore those guys somehow, some way. Like the Rams, they got the pass rush to come after Dak, but do they have the coverage that can cover both Lamb and Pickens? I don't know. Seattle, Dak's a wizened old vet. I don't know that the kind of simulated pressures are going to have the same impact on a guy like Dak that they did on Drake May in the Super Bowl, So yeah, I think if Dak is has a full healthy year, I think the Cowboys are probably slightly underpriced to be the 1 seed. If Dak gets hurt, forget. Yeah.
If Dak gets hurt,
all unders. Yeah, all unders are all cashing.
You're losing 13
no
games. I think that's a good key point by Bertie. If you are worried about injury concerns for any, quarterback, that's the way to bet it. It's like, I don't think this guy makes it through the year because of the defenses he's playing, the offensive line in front of him, and his history. And you're just parlaying those 3 things on he misses 10 games and, they finish 5 games below their win total, which is 8.5. Some places 9.5.
Playoffs, yes, is -115. Like, you can't get involved in any of these coin flippy things. I think they're all priced correctly. I think if you want Cowboys exposure, you swing for the fences. Because even like the NFC East price isn't big enough for me to get involved.
No. If you really believe in this offense, and that being the driver, if you think Schotty's great, and this is really going to be, the offensive line takes a step forward. Dak is great. He doesn't miss any games. CeeDee Lamb is like 18-1 to win OPOI. It seems like that's been a theme lately where it's like, hey, what receiver has 1,800 yards? Because he's, even with a really good 2, he's just going to get stupid volume. Caleb Downs is 3rd on the board at DraftKings for DROI. It's tough with a secondary piece because you kind of got to get hey, he had a bunch of picks, or it has to be just like, this kid's good. He's actually their second corner at this point.
There's a lot of potential.
Bailey and Sonny Styles are ahead of him.
Sonny Styles is going to be tough to beat because he's going to have 9 million tackles. He's the entire defense. Yeah.
I mean, Dak MVP is just too short. I can't take that either.
Yep, I agree. What about the 1 seed?
That's what we're thinking about. I mean, you got to think about the rest of the NFC. And I think the issue is, I guess we're lucky that the NFC West is tough and the Rams have to play 6 games there because, Jesus, I'm struggling to see, issues with that team right now. Other than, there is a big, hey, your quarterback's old and he has an injury coming into every season that we're worried about. He's going to retire. But, the Rams I worry about. The NFC Central, NFC North. Sorry, I'm so old. The NFC North, I think there's a little bit of attrition. They beat up on each other. I don't think there's a 14-win team in the NFC North right now. And the same kind of goes with the South. There's not a 1 seed. There's not a 1 seed in the South, guys. So I think it's like, are you worried about the Rams? Are you worried about the Seahawks? Do you think, is there some outlier with Kyler Murray or Jordan Love or Caleb or any of the teams in the NFC North that like spike? And I don't know that it's there. So it's basically, can they win more games than the Rams?
All of the NFC North being 3-3 in division is in play.
Yeah,
all of the top of the NFC West being 4-2 is in play. I think the Cowboys, realistically, I think it's probably starts with the expectation of 5-1, where you're splitting with the Eagles. If you beat the Eagles twice, 6-0, then 1 seed I think is live. The 1 seed price for the Cowboys, without looking, you want to guess?
15
plus 1550.
Yeah, it's about the same as It's about the same as winning the NFC conference, and I'd much rather have I'd have it in pocket, I guess, rather than expecting them to win playoff games, which feels tough even at home.
Yeah, this feels like the team that can outscore other teams in the regular season, and then when we get to the playoffs, the defense gets exposed.
I mean, realistically, like, it's probably the floor is, this is probably a wild card team or just out of the wild card teams. But if everything breaks right, I think you're right. They can definitely win a lot of games. Schedule's not crazy tough. You just have to go like 5 games above expectation, what happens to somebody every year, and you're betting on it 15-1. So long.
The fat part of the distribution for their outcome is the 3rd seed, the 5th seed, or the 6th seed. That's probably where they're landing.
There's a 7th seed, a little bit there too, I suppose.
A little bit of 7th seed, yeah.
All right. Okay. Hey,
well,
hit the thumbs up, guys.
A positive Cowboys episode. Didn't think that was for sure going to come this year.
It will be kind of hemming and hawing tomorrow. So Philly, we're going to do that at 3 o'clock Eastern. We'll do Philly.
Final tiny question, then I'm going to hit the music. Like, has Jerry conceded some of the decision-making and control finally? Is that why things are a little more normal?
I don't know.
Maybe they're just letting him go out there and be a goofball, but they actually are running things intelligently behind the scenes.
Yeah, maybe they just gave him an iPad that says, like, he thinks he's running things from it, and they're actually doing it. It feels like that's what needs to happen for it to be a serious, a serious organization again.
He's more interested in his cameo on
Man, I've just watched the clip. Creed thoughts. Thank you, Patrick. What a reference. See you guys tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern for the Philadelphia Fightin'. Go Birds.